Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Drew Carey.
Hey everybody, how you doing? They told me I should wear a tuxedo, so that's why I'm in a tuxedo. They also told me I should dye my hair white. I dyed my hair white. I actually dyed my hair white because I figured Price is Right isn't the same unless a guy with white hair is hosting it. Keep the tradition alive. You know, when I agreed to do, when Bob asked me to do this, I said, great, and they sent me all this material about his, career, which, if you don't know about Bob Barker's career and you're an entertainment reporter, get the hell out of the room. You have no business being here, honestly. And then I thought, well, I'm going to say all this stuff about him giving away the money, and I don't have anything to say anymore. They put his biography in your programs, and they did everything I was going to say in the video. So I will tell you this, though, about Bob Barker. He's given away more money on TV than anybody else. Don't you hold the record? But I think he does, millions of dollars. And I'm doing pretty good too. We give away a lot of money on The Price is Right, but it's not our money. I wish we could give away a car to everybody that comes up, because I'm not paying for it. Bob never paid for the cars we gave away on Price is Right or any of the cash. But what he does do is he's such a man of integrity, he gives away his own money to things he believes in, like the Semper Fi Fund, and as a Marine, God bless you, I really appreciate you doing that. And he's lost gigs. Like, he'll turn down commercials. If the product, people offered him commercials, and he said, well, you don't treat animals right, I'm not gonna do it. He turns down money. He gives away millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's not joking about dying broke. He's really is such a man of integrity. He really walks the walk. It's rare to meet somebody that is like that and doesn't do, like, can't think of one hypocritical thing. It's really an honor to have gotten to know you over the years and to see what a mensch you are. You know, what an honorable person you are when it comes to the things you believe in. And you really do set a great example for everybody. I don't know how many millions of dogs and cats you've saved by just the spay and neuter thing, and not to mention all the other animals, and just the attitude that you've helped create in America for vegetarianism, veganism, people treating animals better, the anti-fur movement, all because of you. You know, you're just an amazing person, and I'm glad to be here to help present you this award. When I first got the show, I found out the night before that it was official the night before, and I was going to be interviewed on C.E.S. in New York. And I was doing the show in the morning, and a grip was setting up the lights. And he saw me, and he went, hey, come on down, huh? And I said, oh, I guess I should get used to hearing that. And he said, yeah, no shit. So, Bob, I just want to give you one more. Come on down and get your Legend Award.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Drew has, after I did it for 35 years, he stepped in and he did a great job. He's kept the show going just beautifully. He's kept the ratings up there right on top. And he does my spay-neuter plug. He's really done a fine job. And Drew, I want you to keep that show on the air because I'm still getting a royalty. Now, I understand that, Robert, you're going to do a little interview here, are you? We'll imagine that we're back in my backyard again.
Yes.
I've lost.
We are neighbors, and we are old friends, and if you've been to the Barker house, it's beautiful, and there's nothing better than sitting in the backyard. I'm going to give you that, sir.
All right.
What we have done the last few years is we have a short conversation on stage, which is very odd for me to be sitting here because I just keep thinking to myself, what would Tavis Smiley ask Bob Barker? So, Tavis, forgive me, but because there are a lot of entertainment journalists in the audience, I guess the first thing I would like to know, Bob, is how did it feel punching Adam Sandler's Lights Out?
I thoroughly enjoyed beating up Adam Sandler. I really did. And I might add that after that movie came out, and every Price is Right that I take, they wanted, during the commercials, they wanted to talk about Happy Gilmore and me beating up Adam Sandler, and particularly young men. Young men loved that. They'd say, could you really whip Adam Sandler? I'd tell them, Adam Sandler couldn't whip Regis Philbin.
What I didn't know about you is I knew you grew up in Washington, partly in Washington State.
I was born in Washington.
Yeah, because we talked after the
But
Oso mudslide.
I was in Washington for about 15 minutes.
But you grew up on a reservation.
From the time I was in the second grade until I got out of the 8th grade, I was on the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Yeah.
How did you find your way there?
Well, my dad died when I was only 6 years old in 1929, just when everything went down the drain so far as the economy was in the United States. And my mom had me to raise, and she had taught in South Dakota at one time, taught school. And she managed to get a job up there in a little town called Mission, 100 people. And we went up there and lived. And it was a matter of survival.
And you have part Sioux in you, right?
I what?
You have part Sioux Indian?
I'm part Sioux, yeah. My father was an Indian, but my mother was not.
So how does that allow you to become the most successful game show host in television history?
Well, everybody on the reservation went into television. No, actually, a few of them didn't. But believe it or not, I would never have been in television if it hadn't been for the United States Navy. I was in the Navy, and no, it wasn't the War of 1812 either. I know what you're thinking. It was the Second World War, and I was a naval aviator. And when I got out of the Navy, I had another year of college to go finish, and I wanted to go back to school. And but by this time I was married. As soon as I got my wings and became an officer, I got married. We all did. We got our wings down in Texas, and then we all went in different directions, got our girlfriends, got married, came back, and had the rest of our time in the Navy. It was a honeymoon for us, paid for by the government. And it was great. If you've ever been on a honeymoon, you know they're fun, and that's what we did. But when I got out, I wanted to go back and finish college, and I wanted a part-time job. And I heard about the manager of a radio station.
And let me interrupt for a second. When you graduated college, you were summa cum laude.
When I graduated?
From college. You were smart. Summa cum laude in economics. Am I crazy?
Summa cum laude in economics, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you've interrupted my story.
I know. Well, I'm just, I'm trying to connect from reservation to economics major to game show host.
I had them on the edges of the seats out there. I could see them. They were wondering, how did the Navy help him get into television? That's why I like, he's a wonderful audience. He really is. He's not so hot at this, but he's a wonderful audience. But what I started to say when you rudely interrupted there was that I went back to college. I had another year to do, and I wanted a part-time job. And I heard about the manager of a radio station who was crazy about airplanes. He had a little airplane of his own out at the airport there in Springfield, Missouri. And I thought, if he's crazy about airplanes, maybe he would like to have a former fighter pilot work for him. Made sense. Sure. And I had never even considered working in radio. I'd never been in a radio station. I'd never been in a school play. I'd never been a debater. I'd never been before an audience in my life. But I thought I'd go down and talk with this fellow. So I went down G. Pearson Ward was his name, manager of the station. We talked for about 45 minutes, and I had my first job in radio. We talked about airplanes, and I had my first job in radio. And that's how I got started.
You could have been and you were a broadcaster for that period of time. Do you ever think that that would have been your career, that's something you would have continued to do? Was KNX, was that where you were working?
No, no. Oh, no. You mean out here?
Yeah.
Well, I had a radio show on
Right.
KNX. But back there in Missouri, it was a little 250-watt station.
Sure.
And in those days, you did everything. I was an announcer. I wrote news and did news. I wrote sports and did sports. I did everything. I was a disc jockey. I was tone deaf. I am tone deaf. Didn't have any idea what I was talking about, but I had downbeat there. And I'd read downbeat, and people thought, boy, that guy really knows all about music, you know? But eventually, I was on duty one day as an announcer, and they had a studio there where they had an audience participation show. And I knew the show because it was on my shift. And one day, the host of that show didn't show up. He was a guy who was never ashamed to take a drink, and I think he had too many drinks, and he didn't show up. And everything was live in those days. Everything was live, no tape. And Mr. Ward came rushing in, and he said, Bob, you have to go in there and do that show. Well, I knew the show, but I had never done anything like that. I grabbed a hand mic, ran in there, and I didn't have time to get nervous. And I started talking with this lady. I said something to her, and she said something. And then I said something, and they roared with laughter. And I thought, oh, that's a nice sound. And I thought, I'm going to try to make them do that again. And it went well. And I got a lot of laughs. And when I got home, my wife, Dorothy Jo, had heard the show. And she said, Barker, that's what you should do. She said, you did that better than you've ever done anything else. She didn't say I was good. She just said I did it better than I'd ever done. So she and I set out from that day to try to get me a national radio show. And of course, television came along, and then that's what we went after.
How did television come along for you?
I beg your pardon?
How did television come along for you? How did that opportunity?
Well, I was still in radio, of course, and I went down. We loved Florida. She was with me in Florida when I was in the Navy, and we loved Florida and went down there on vacation. And there was a little station right out there, Palm Beach, on the beach. I went in and auditioned, got a job, and we stayed there for a year. And then we decided if I was really going to do something on a national scene, I had to go to New York or come out here. And we loved Florida, so we thought, let's go to California. It's more like Florida. We came out here. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't have an agent. I had no contacts of any kind. I was the right candidate to star. But with the good Lord watching over me, within a couple of weeks, I had a radio show at a little station. And then I got on to C.E.S. locally. And Ralph Edwards, God bless him, he heard that show. He said, Barker should be working for me. And he auditioned me and called me at 5 minutes past noon on December 21st, 1956, and said, Bob, you're the host of Truth or Consequences. I'd auditioned several times for him. And every December 21st after that, we had lunch, had a little drink at 5 minutes past 12 to our long, enduring friendship. We did that till the day he died. And for you sentimentalists, every December 21st at 5 minutes past noon, I still drink to him. Because without him, no telling where I'd be.
Do you miss it? Do you miss the show?
Do I miss doing Price?
Yeah.
No, I don't, really. I'm a complete success at retirement. I really am. I think it's because I did it at just the right time. And this is something I think for all of you to keep in mind, regardless of what you do. try to retire at just the right time. Not too soon, not too late, and you don't miss it. I'm really, as I said, a complete success retirement. People ask me, what do you miss most about Price is Right? Sure. And I'm honest, I say the money. That's what they just stopped sending those checks. And,
Do you still watch it, Bob?
well, with Drew doing such a great job, though, I'm still getting a royalty.
But you watch him.
Do I watch him?
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I turn it on once in a while to see what he's doing.
You know, what I know, what is so still important for you is what you have done for all of our creatures, and
It
what
is
you
important
believe
to me, yeah.
for animals. And we've been down that road together. And if you watch the fight that Bob Barker has taken to City Hall to try and get the elephants removed from the LA Zoo, it was an admirable, albeit a losing fight. But I've never seen such dedication. And there are people that are, 100% in awe of that. But I'm just always curious to know, where does that come from? That love for animals, the spay and neuter mantra that you've been preaching for years.
Well, I'm often asked that very question, and it's simplest answer. And I'm sure that there are people in this audience right now who are among the millions of people who are just born with a love of animals. My earliest memories include animals. I have loved them all my life, just as many of you have. And I feel sorry for people who don't love animals because they miss such a wonderful part of life. But with that love, when I was a kid, I used to pick up strays, and if they were hurt, I tried to help them in my childish way. And now that I'm able to help them financially, I do. I help all kinds of organizations doing all kinds of wonderful things. And I will say this, the animal rights movement has really made improvements for animals of every description all over the world. And there are people here right now who've spent a lot of time working for animals. I know. It's like a big snowball, the movement is. It's rolling down a hill, it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's really making things better for animals.
Thanks to you, in large part, Bob. In the last few minutes that we have, do you have goals still? Are there still things that you want to achieve?
Well, my goal right now is to be able to get off this stage without falling here. I've discovered in 6 days I'm going to be 92 years old. And that's nothing to applaud. I thank you, but I feel that mentally, you may disagree with me, but I feel mentally I seem to be in fairly good shape. But physically, getting upstairs, I stumble. I have a torn tendon in my ankle on my right foot, and it flops around. I'm never sure where it is. And
so that's your goal, to get up the stairs? Is that what you're
well, my goal eventually, they're laughing. I'd stay up here all night if they laugh. But now you're quiet. Are you trying to tell me something? No, but you see, I came up this one. You notice that? Back here, the one with this handrail. If I tried to come up this one, you'd probably be down there now interviewing me on the floor down there.
You know what we like to do here, because I'm surrounded by my colleagues and fellow journalists, so it's important for me to break some news. And over the last few years, we've managed to do just that. On this stage, Jane Fonda told me that her biggest regret was riding that tank. A few years ago, Hugh Hefner told me that he does not wear silk pajamas. He actually wears flannel pajamas because he gets cold at night, with socks, by the way.
Right.
So with that said, and my final question is, and because we're longtime friends, I need you to help me out. I want to, I want to break some news. I want a headline. So I want you to end this evening by telling me something about Bob Barker that no one knows.
Well, only a very few select people know that I sleep in the nude. And years ago, it wasn't too bad, but now it's a horrible sight. When I go to bed, it looks like a horror movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from the man himself that in 6 days, Bob Barker is turning 92. Can you join me in singing Happy Birthday to Bob Barker
Oh,
as
my.
we finish our evening?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
our first Legend Award winner, Bob Barker.
Thank you. Thank you so much.